have my notes here because today is a little different. I wanted to talk about financial issues and financial health, which is part of financial wellness. And part of financial health is mental health and emotional regulation, stuff like that, like recognizing patterns, recognizing behaviors, all of that. Those are mental, emotional, psychologically led things. Now, I am not a psychiatrist or any of those things. So, take this with a pile of salt because, I'm not a medical professional, but it's a thought that I've had that I want to discuss. And, if anyone else, please, if anyone else has, an opinion about this, if you've ever thought about it this way, I'm sure someone else has. There's just got to be, because there's a collective consciousness, and I just know someone else has thought about this, and I'm going to talk about it. But I feel like we can have this discussion. But first, hi, I'm Kang, and this is Frankly K, where awareness and clarity means power. I do financial literacy videos, journal with me's, vlogs, book reviews. If that is interesting to you, please consider subscribing and joining the after school special. That's what I'm going to call this now. I don't know how I feel about saying it's after school special though. I just keep trying out different names and hoping one will stick. So the first topic, yes, you do have McDonald's money. Now, this is not to say there's anything wrong with that phrase. There was nothing wrong with our parents saying, do you have McDonald's money? There was nothing wrong with any of that, because I feel like at a young age, hearing something like, do you have McDonald's money, put into your mind that things don't just fall out of thin air. At least it did for me. The first time my mother said something like that to me, where she literally was like, I feel like everyone uses the same words. It was basically, do you have the money for McDonald's? And I was like, no. And I was going to say, but you do. But then it immediately made me think how dare I dictate? Yes, she's my mother. But have I ever gone starving with her? You know what I mean? On purpose. Maybe I'm eating things I don't like, but there was always some kind of food in the house, even if it was just butter rice. You know what I mean? Like rice with butter. Even if it was just that, there was some kind of food in the house. Even if it was just okra, which we ate I probably 4 nights a week when I was really little, sometimes, because it's leftovers. You eat leftovers. We eat beans a lot. We ate a lot of sweet potato and kale. When I got to high school, she got on a kale binge. Kale was in every meal. So there was a lot of repetitive food, but it was always healthy. It was always we did eat meat. So, but you know what I mean? I was never starving, but sometimes I want McDonald's. I want Burger King. There was at one point in time where on Sundays after church, we would go to Burger King. And that was the one time we had fast food in the week. This is the context in which I'm talking about this in. And I give you that context because that also matters when you're thinking about these memories and how they affect your childhood. And the reason why I was able to take the phrase of, oh, do you have McDonald's money, and not feel like I was being punished or I was being starved or something like that. It wasn't a retaliation kind of thing. Other people might be feeling differently because the parent in question did not take care of them properly. And then when you ask for food or something, they immediately turned around on them well, you don't even have the money for it, so how dare you ask me to buy you something? And this child is feeling neglected. Those are two separate things. So I want to acknowledge that first. Some of this can be from food scarcity trauma, financial scarcity trauma. So even though growing up, I grew up with more financial scarcity, the priority in the house was food. So we might not have had much else, but my parents always made sure to have good food to eat in the house. And that translated to me, if I can't afford anything else in my daily life, it's always going to be a good meal. I will prioritize a good meal over literally anything else. So I think that translates because you live with your body forever. Anyway, the point is, that is where I'm coming from. That is the angle that I'm coming from. And while there are many angles to get to the center point of this discussion, I am clarifying the angle that I'm coming with so that you can see it from that perspective. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. It teaches children that, right, there are priorities, and that just because somebody has something doesn't mean they have to give it to you or they have to spend it on you, especially when it is not a necessity, especially when it's something that you clearly, there's something in the house, but you rather have the other thing and you want to make that someone else's problem. That's kind of how that translates as you get older. At least to me, I feel like in a healthy way, that's how it translates. Like, if I am here and I am so called, as a child, I'm dependent on this person, obviously. But if the person is giving me all the things I need and I'm just not getting McDonald's on Tuesday night because they're like, no, I don't have the money. You don't have the money either. Where's the McDonald's gonna come from? That was where it was coming from. So while that is not problematic in itself in that circumstance, in the circumstance in which I am talking about, it becomes a problem when you internalize that thought as you get older when it comes to your financial budgeting, and you start to guilt yourself out of eating out. Now, personally, I put myself on an eating out limit, right? So because I know I get out of control. And part of it is because of this phrase. Yes, I do have McDonald's money. And so McDonald's, I'm just saying McDonald's because that's the phrase, but it's like anything, eating out anywhere. Outback Steakhouse, going to some random restaurant in the city, like all kinds of anything. It can be anything. Buffalo Wild Wings, like, that's my shit right now. It starts to become an automatic reaction of guilt when it comes to eating out, because we associate eating out with wasting money, and it's not. It's not wasting money. It's an experience. It's something that you want to do. It's part of creating a life for yourself. And if that includes eating out, then you need to budget eating out. Like, you know, this is how much money I will be spending on eating out. Like, you can make that a budget and not feel bad about it, because guess what? It goes into my next point, which I'm going to circle back to, but let me preview it. And it's that do not feel guilty about spending money. Do not get attached to your money. It is just money. And I feel like financial health, a lot of people are like, it's a tool, it's a tool, it's a tool. But then they tell you things that make you attach worth, makes you attach productivity, it makes you attach morals to your money. And you don't have to do any of that. Like, if you're living a normal life, you're being a good person, whatever that means to you, and you're not hurting anybody with your money, that's different. But the action itself is the moralistic choice, not the money. And the action, I mean big things. So like, say you scamming, which is another topic. That is a moralistic choice that involves money. But the moralistic choice was to defraud people. The money wasn't the problem, because people spent regular hard-earned money on something they believed in. And you were scamming. The scamming is the bad part. The getting money wasn't the bad part. So back to this topic, spending money on eating out is not bad. But if you know that that's one of the things that you really enjoy about your life, being able to try new restaurants or just eat from that that fucking place that you like, do not guilt yourself out of those things. Just do it responsibly. So like for me, for example, I know for a fact I'm eating out, and that's that, you know what I mean? But my bills they're gonna stay paid. However, sometimes I can eat out more than others. Some weeks I can't eat out at all because that it would put me at jeopardy for something. That's the one time where I will tell myself no about eating out, but there's no guilt involved and there's no regret, because I know I'm doing it on purpose. Like, there's a purpose behind it. It's not just me being like, I could save so much money. What are you saving the money for? To go out? If you're saving the money, then you're saving the money. I feel like people need to compartmentalize more and realize that you can save maybe $20 at a time, or let me break it even smaller. You can save $5 at a time, and after a couple months, you have $20. You after 4 paychecks, right? You have $20. You save $5 a paycheck, not even $5 a month. $5 a paycheck. After 4 paychecks is $20. That's enough for exactly one McDonald's meal. But that's not my point. My point is that money can be saved. Money can be put away separately. You can start to realize, how much do I eat out? And like I keep starting and stopping. For me, I've put myself on a limit of how many times to order, not necessarily a dollar amount. And it's because it fluctuates. So the biggest problem with me was how many times I would eat out. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't the dollar amount that was the problem, because I wasn't getting really expensive stuff or anything like that. Like the things I was really into, like the things I really gravitate towards during the week, they're very inexpensive. We're talking like inexpensive, but we're talking like the pre-made food at Costco and the pre-made food at Giant, or Wendy's biggie bag. Like that's my shit. I love a Wendy's biggie bag, like things like that. So those things aren't expensive, but multiple times a week it becomes expensive. So I put myself on a restriction for how many times a week I can eat out, and that's been working really well for me. Now, I went off of that for a little while and realized how much of a difference it made in what I was able to get. Because honestly, decreasing the times increased the amount I could spend within my budget. And it made for me being able to get something like on Tuesday, I bought Sardi's. That came up, that total was like $65 because I got a whole chicken and 3 sides. And then a 2-liter drink. So I just went all out because we were going to eat it for 2 days. But that was 2 days worth of a meal, and it was $65, I guess, with the delivery fees and everything. So that was a lot of money. However, it was still around the same amount of money I would spend eating at random carryouts, buying lunch at work, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So now I've prioritized just the amount of times. If I go up once, that's it. And yes, it's still $60, but the fact is that eating out is already part of my budget. However, when I was going over budget, it was because of the frequency. So you have to ask yourself, what is your frequency with going out and everything? Yes, you do have McDonald's money, but do you have it this week? And is it going to get in the way of something else? Like, is it going to take away from maybe going out with your friends or buying that gift or getting something for yourself or paying a utility bill? You know what I mean? Because whatever you spend on your meal, it ain't going to keep you from like getting evicted or something. Like, I never like when people talk about that could be the rent. And I'm like, ain't no leasing office in the world going to take $60 and be like, you can stay in your apartment. If you're already struggling with your rent, that's an entirely separate issue. Not eating food, I'm not sure how that's gonna help. Like, so what I wrote here is like small and automatic reactions to spending money. It also affects how you eat. While budgeting for eating out is all well and good, sometimes it is in your best interest to cook at home. I feel like for me, my health is a lot better when I cook at home because you do control more of what's going into your food, right? The whole reason you buy food is because there's a certain taste that you want. That's it. Or it's something you don't know how to make. Or it's something from a place where you just really like how they make it. That kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. All those things can be made perfectly healthy and perfectly fine. But knowing that you're going to eat at home should also be part of the reason why you are like, I don't have to eat out today. It shouldn't be a punishment to eat at home. That's the other side of this. While you know you enjoy eating out, eating at home shouldn't be a punishment. Now, let's just say it's because you do know how to cook, or maybe you don't know how to cook, but you don't mind cooking or something like that. It's not that. This is not any of the cases where you're like, I fucking hate cooking. Cooking can kiss my ass. Like, the whole mentality of you have McDonald's money leads into sometimes people thinking that eating at home is the punishment because you don't have money. And that affects, I think, your mental health and your physical well-being. there's something that's not inherently or essentially bad turns into something that feels like a punishment, because all you're thinking is the only reason I'm eating at home is because I don't have enough money to go out to eat. And it shouldn't be like that. Eating at home is a wonderful privilege and a right. It is both things at the same time, because it's hard to afford to eat at home consistently. Honestly, some people who grew up with any kind of food scarcity can tell you that. And so eating at home honestly might be a beautiful treasure for them. But I feel like that's something that everyone should understand. Like, even if you were someone like me where your parents consistently have food in the house, I realized how important it is for that. Like, knowing that I didn't have much, but knowing that I didn't have to stay hungry before I went to bed completely changes everything. It changes all your perspectives, especially as a young person, where you grow up with not you don't grow up with money. You don't grow up with money, but you at least have a full stomach. It's damaging when you're not able to have your necessities. And I feel, me personally, I feel like food and clean water is the biggest necessity on the planet Earth. And I don't want people attaching not eating out or eating at home with a punishment. It's a beautiful thing. And so even if you don't have McDonald's money, don't ever think that, oh man, you know what I mean? You can help it. Try not to think of it as a punishment. Okay, so like me cutting back on eating out, as much as I love eating out, girl. Cutting back on it, I looked at it, it wasn't a punishment. It was more like, think about all the things that you can do. Think about all the groceries you can afford. And the fact is that you can chill on eating out. You don't have to stop because you love it, right? You love it. But like, you can chill and it's not a punishment. That made it a lot easier for me to stick to my limits, because I wasn't looking at it as a punishment or as a sacrifice. Back to, my notes where I was like, you can afford that outside food. It will simply be at the expense of something else. That was the other point, where it's like, sometimes you have to just be real with yourself. Like, yes, you can get that Buffalo Wild Wings. You can get that Caesar's Pizza, but now you don't have your Spotify money for this month and it will be late. Is that a big deal to you? Maybe. And so you just need to be real about it. Are you okay with that? Just ask yourself, are you okay with that? Like, I'm good. Spotify can wait. I want this pizza now, right? But then later, after you finish the pizza, after the pizza's gone, what if the pizza wasn't as good to you as it usually is? That's always the thing with like food. Will you regret it? I say try not to regret it, because you made that decision fully conscious of your consequences, right? And the consequences were that you can't pay Spotify this month because you ordered a Caesar's Pizza. That's just reality. You don't have to feel bad about that, but you need to know that that is what you've done and own up to it. Just be like, yes, I did it. Will I do it every time? No, but you did. And there's no reason to feel guilty about that. You are living your life. Again, part of financial literacy is mental awareness. The awareness of your decisions will change your entire outlook on your money, whether you have a little or a lot. Because even if you have a little, I am rooting for you that one day you will have enough, and one day you will have a lot, and one day you will have as much as you want. And the point is, you need to correct those behaviors and those thought processes while you're still working towards it, because those things don't correct themselves with more money. As your salary increases, as your hourly wage increases, as inflation increases, it's always going to feel like you're playing catch up at sometimes, not always, because some people have enough money where they don't feel like they're playing catch up. But in the meantime, there's just a lot. I've noticed a big difference when I started correcting my mindset. Now, sometimes there just isn't no money, and that's its own separate issue. But the thing that was corrected was, with the money that I do have, I wasn't always feeling so trapped. And it was because I took guilt out of the equation. I wasn't going to let anybody talk to me just because I was quote unquote poor or quote unquote working class. I wasn't going to let anybody talk to me about how I should feel about how I spend my money. When I'm not hurting anybody, I'm not putting anybody in jeopardy. I don't even put myself in jeopardy. That's how I feel about guilt and money. It's something that you need to address and correct within yourself. And I feel like the only way to address and correct it is with awareness with what you're doing. Like knowing you've made the decision. It wasn't something that you made thoughtlessly. Like, you know that this bill is not going to get paid and you're doing something else, but you know how to pay that bill. You see what I'm saying? So it's not you putting yourself in jeopardy. Would be sacrificing a bill for something that you want and then never addressing the fact that you sacrificed a bill, meaning you don't have any plan to catch up with that bill. You don't have any plan to actually pay them. It was a significant amount of money that you were spending instead, and it's something that is gonna like maybe get you put on the street or get your lights cut off, which in my state can get you put on the street. So stuff like that, you need to be aware of that. And then at the end of the day, when you think about that way, maybe you'll realize, okay, well, maybe this thing isn't really worth this kind of sacrifice. I can put some money away and get it later. Patience is sometimes key, but it's not always the answer. Right? Sometimes you just need to be real with yourself, because patience, all the patience in the world, you can have an emergency and your savings needs to go, which brings us to the next point. Don't get attached to your savings. Do not get attached to your savings, because I know we all work hard to save, especially when you don't make a lot of money. You work really hard to save. And when you have to spend it, any of it, it feels like a setback. That it is not a setback. It is exactly what a savings is for, even if it wasn't what that savings was for. Say you had a savings pot and you finally, after 6 months, got it up to $300. However, suddenly you have an emergency and have to spend, I won't even say all of it, I'll say $150, because that still hurts. That's half of the money that you spent 6 months saving. I had to tell myself, like, look, at least I had it. Right? Just when you think you have a little money and you want to spend it on something else, and that's cute. But remember those times, again, awareness, remembering those times where something was $150 and you didn't have it. You didn't have it. And it was bad. All right. So the fact is that you have that money, and no, it wasn't for that, but it's there and you saved it and you have it. And that's now one less thing you have to worry about. And then here's the other part. Just like you did it before, you will and can do it again. So don't beat yourself up. Some people are able to, they make enough money where they can have multiple savings pots at the same time. So if you're someone like that and you feel like you can make a budget with multiple savings pots, I would argue that depending on your life circumstances, more people can make a multiple savings pots than they think. It's just that you might not be putting as much money in each pot as somebody else, but that really doesn't matter. The point is just having them. So maybe you put like $5, or you put like random change, like you roll over your change. I have one account where the bank rolls over your purchase change. I think many places do that. If it's a place that it's a card or an account you use frequently, those kinds of rollover savings accounts are more beneficial. If it's not an account that you use frequently, the rollover savings, it's fine because you're saving something, but it's not as effective just because there aren't as many purchases to roll over the savings. So like I would say do rollover savings on your bill pay account where money's constantly coming out for bills. So that's always going to roll over. And so if you do it manually, like it won't work, I don't think, if they do automatic withdrawals. Anyway, stuff like that. It could be something like putting in $5 in like 3 separate pots. So every paycheck you save $15 and you have 3 saving pots and each of them get $5. And eventually you have some money in them, right? But again, don't get attached to the savings. It is just money piled away for usage at a later date. That's all. Now, if you have something that you're saving for specifically, it can hurt. But like I said, you have to use it. You have to use it. Like if you have to use it, you have to use it. So there's no reason to give yourself that kind of stress or make yourself feel bad. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that now I'm going to have to, go into my savings for this. It's fine. So stuff like that. Like Those are the things I wanted to talk about, like money and help and awareness. And so then the last thing goes back to, using your money in a way people want to call it moral and stuff like that, when the only moral thing is really just how you get the money, right? And there are some things, everyone's got their own takes on what's right and what's wrong, but I think we could all agree that scamming is one of the lower end wrongs when it comes to taking money from people. Like, people go to work all hard and then they pay you for something and then you don't deliver that thing. Scamming. And it's not like an accident. You did it on purpose, like that kind of thing. So I wanted to talk about credit repair companies, right? They are not the scam. They're actually a legitimate thing because they do a lot of things so that you can concentrate on something else. You pay them these lump sums of money and they go through your credit. They're supposed to go through your credit in detailed fashion, get things removed, dispute charges, all kinds, find out deletions, follow up with you, figure out what's going on. They also find credit offers for individuals so that you can, improve your credit in an active way. So sometimes it's something as simple as increasing the amount of credit that you have so that your credit utilization score goes down. And it's something like maybe making sure that you have some sort of credit line that you're paying on so that there is activity, a positive activity generated on your credit report. Those are all things that they can set up or help you set up, especially when you don't know where to start. You're on your own. Maybe you have a lot of other things you're trying to take care of. This kind of company can come in, do all that like footwork for you, and you basically just have to be like, living your life. Everyone is not a reputable credit repair company. You meet these random people and they're like, I started a credit repair company, and that's fine. That's fine. But honestly, reviews are so sketchy nowadays because people can pay for reviews like they always have, right? Or they can now, since it's internet, they can delete reviews, the bad ones especially. And stuff like that. So like, reviews are good, but also I kind of ignore reviews at this point. And I kind of just research the company itself and the person behind the company. So if you can't find enough information about those things, or at least organically finding people who have used this yourself, I think when it comes to credit repair companies and stuff, word of mouth is your best bet to find a good credit repair company. Like, word of mouth. If somebody has already gone through the thing and it has worked for them and they come to you and they're like, hey, I found this thing, like someone not some random person, like someone and trust. And they are like, I did credit repair. Just ask around, ask people, is anyone using credit repair companies? And tell me who you use, because there's a lot of people who are doing good work for that. Like, they really do want to see people succeed. But I feel like the internet has made it one of those businesses. Like, it's like an Airbnb at this point, where people are scamming the shit out of this system, and they're using credit repair company to quickly get people's money in a large sum. It's always 1,000 or more, because this is something that's supposed to be improving your credit, and people save up and give all their money to these things only to have no results. And so I'm here to tell you, if you're doing that, if you're hell-bent on spending money on it because you want a professional to help you and guide you and figure this out with you because you were just lost, you need to go with word of mouth, with people people in person. You need to find someone like that. If you're someone who's like, I am never going to pay for that, but I too want credit repair, there's a list of things that you can do. And honestly, I'm going to put it down in the description box because the video is already too long, but I am going to put it in the description box. Like I always say, I always put more information in the description box. If you want to go through the tedious and arduous task yourself, which I do, I go through it myself. It's like cutting your own hair, right? When done right, it takes time and patience. Okay. But you could also pay more money and go to a professional. It's up to you what you want to spend your money on. Again, like I always say, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I am here to tell you all the options you have with your money so that you can make and give you information about what you spend your money on so that you can make your best decisions for yourself. I'll give some right now and then I'll go into detail in the description box. But like, for example, right now, go straight into something like Credit Karma, and they have your credit report all detailed right there, and you can actually start a dispute on Credit Karma, or you can go somewhere like freecreditreport.com. The whole point of that is that they give you a detailed credit report. So like all inquiries, and it's free once a year. Everyone can get one for free once a year. All credit inquiries that you have done. Limit credit inquiries. Credit inquiries include store cards. Every time you go to the bank and try to get a credit card or a refinance an auto loan, and that's not just that bank, anywhere you go get a credit card, anywhere you go try to refinance an auto loan, they're going to pull credit, and that's going to be an inquiry. Another thing that affects your credit is old delinquent accounts. So if you have something, make sure, check your credit report. There's stuff on there that you can dispute. People are more affected by what is the word I'm looking for? Like fraud, basically identity theft in a way than they think. Even if you're like, I don't have any money, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I have that somebody would want and stuff. And no, someone didn't go to Best Buy and run up a credit card because you don't have one, but someone could get your information and have it on some sort of delinquent bill somewhere. You don't know. So those are things you need to look for. Medical bills, especially if you are someone in a certain percentage and you went to a hospital, they have rules at certain hospitals, not all hospitals, like private hospitals can get away with this. But public hospitals, charity hospitals, church hospitals, and stuff like that, they all have a clause where if you don't have a lot of money, there's a certain amount of money they are not allowed to charge you, and you can have that reported. There's also the more simple one where you can, I don't think it's advisable, but it is a quick, short fix. It's a short-term fix. And it's if you're able to get another line of credit in some way, like another store card, another credit card, another whatever loan or something, it expands your line of credit. So like, say you have a $400 store card and you have maxed it out, and right now your credit utilization score is going to be at like 120% because of fees. Now, if you add another 400 card there, your total line of credit becomes 800. Now, say you don't use that card though, except for maybe $10 to keep it active, but you pay it off right away, just like you're paying down the 400. Your credit utilization score, even if you don't use that card, because it's open and it's got $400 worth of credit on it, your total credit amount is 800 instead of 400 now, because you had that one card. Now you have two $400 cards and it's 800, and you've only maxed out one card. Now your utilization has dropped from 120% to like 60%, right? Because you've increased your line of credit. Now, the reason why I say that's not advisable is because it's, again, making you apply to something else and taking that ding on your credit. And yes, if you get approved, it can help you. But if you don't get approved, then you've just wasted your own time and dinged your credit. But the point is, try to keep your credit cards as low as possible, but we all know that that's not always possible. So I'm not here to be beating you over the head with a dead horse. Yeah, so that is something that you can do. Increasing your lines of credit helps with your credit utilization score, which in turn helps with your credit score in an overall general sense. Again, the best thing to help your credit score is just making small, timely payments. Call those people that you owe money to. Some of them will work with you. Some of them are assholes. But some of them are only assholes because they're also people at work who have been told to threaten people and get whatever they can. Get the most that they can. So While I don't find that to be an excuse, and I will not be talked to crazy just because you're at work and have the job to do, you can talk to me like a regular person. Because I've also met people they're at your same company with quotas and they work with me. And that's the person that's going to get things done. Any kind of credit company or any kind of debt collection company, they want to threaten and get the most that they can get. But you know, you don't have the most. So they would rather take something than nothing. And so you need to figure out what that something can be for you, like how much that something is. Sometimes it's only $5. But the point is, as long as you pay that $5 every month, no, it's not making a big dent on your credit, on the bill itself, but it's making major progress on your credit as a whole, because it will see that you're not delinquent. Delinquency is the thing that drags people into the hole. Ignoring a bill and thinking it's going to disappear and it's going to fall off your credit report is what puts people in the hole, because things take years to fall off of a credit report. It takes years, and that's you might have that kind of time, but it affects all the things you're doing in the meantime. So you might as well just stay undefaulted. Maybe the bill isn't that high, but eventually it'll get paid. Eventually, and maybe one day you'll be able to increase the money or give them a lump sum one month and then go back to your random payments. You don't know. Those are things to work out. But in the meantime, calling, making a deal for the amount that you can budget for, that will help your credit. And I'm going to stop here because I feel like that already was a lot. But I will continue to, if I missed anything, because I feel like I said I'd give you a little bit and then I gave you most of the details to help with credit repair. I feel like I touched the main points. That's it. In the next video, I will be deep diving into some financial literacy foolishness and talking about the financial aspects of why these things are so morose or something. I think that's the word I wanted. Yeah, I think it's morose. Like, I know everyone's like, this is outrageous, but I was looking at it and I was like, this is really, really sad. And not so much them. I'm talking about the people that get affected by this. So, yeah. I'm not going to tell you what those topics are. You have to come back and see it. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching. Go out there and feel less guilty, but more aware about that money. See ya.